This week I learned, it doesn't matter what I learned, I got this! Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, guys. I want to make sure I tell everyone happy Father's Day out there. I do hope that you guys do know that you are appreciated. But guys, it's been a real fun week on the channel. We're going to talk about all of those things and more, what has happened, what is going to happen, what will hopefully happen, and beyond, guys. So let's begin like usual, guys. Let's talk about what am I reading. It's not very much a big secret. If you follow me on any form of social media whatsoever, you know that I did actually receive my review copy from Pierce Brown himself, from his home mailing address with his signature attached. I'm just still completely wowed by that. Think of that. Isn't that gotta be amazing that you're an author that's had that much success and you can't count on your publisher to get review copies out. You have to do it yourself. So, guys, you know, success knows no bounds, really. But got thoughts on this. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. You're very safe here. And here's the thing: is people have been like, "Wow, you're reading other things while you're reading Lightbringer." I would have burned right through it. I think back to when I got Battleground by Jim Butcher, and I read it in like 5 days. And I was just like struggling because I couldn't talk to anybody about it for like 3 more months. And that was tough. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, poor you got to read it. It sucks when you can't talk about it, though. It really does. That's one thing that I will say is struggle as a reviewer is you do get those advanced. It's a blessing. Don't misunderstand me. It's a blessing to be able to do that. But what I do here, guys, is I like to talk to you guys about it. Not being able to talk to anybody about it because of embargoes. And also I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. Makes it a little tough. So I'll talk briefly about so far with this is I didn't want to burn through it and not be able to talk about it for a while. So I would say that I'm going through it a little slower than I usually would. And it looks kind of funny because I am that far into it. I think I'm past the halfway mark at this point. But I also read like the first 150 pages in the first day and a half, you know, just to kind of get the idea of there were some questions whose fates were kind of left hanging in the balance in the last book. And I get kind of those early. He doesn't make you wait a long time to find a lot of those things. So once I kind of found out that and said, like, okay, I feel like I can kind of settle into things. I am reading other things along with this. So I plan on hopefully at least making this last all the way through the end of June. And then I don't have to wait, but, you know, about 3 weeks before I can talk about it. But my thoughts so far, guys, again, non-spoiler, because I would never, ever do that for you. I'm very happy so far. And I know that everyone's going to think, well, of course, you're reading something early that you've been anticipating for a while. You're going to love it regardless. I'm not like that, guys. I'll tell you, I'll be like, uh-oh, something feels wrong. Definitely not. Definitely not. There are things that he's done at the very beginning that have really surprised me. It's already kind of my expectations for certain things. Not even close. Not even close. But I will say, guys, there are things that are happening in this book that I have been waiting for them to happen since the beginning of Golden Sun. And that's book number 2 in the series. And I was very happy. I've had moments, I think, that feel like maybe the best fight scene in the entire series so far. There have been moments that have been like, okay, that is the best I felt right here since the end of book 3. Just like really happy moments. And you know Pierce is probably going to pull the rug out from me, but still, he has given you those. So I've had a lot of people be like, oh, is it as messed up as Dark Age? I mean, not so far. Look, it's a Red Rising book, so yeah, bad things are happening all over the place. There are things where you're like, oh my God, what are you thinking? How could you write something like that? But I don't think that anything could feel as dark and grim and hopeless as the first 2 parts of Dark Age. So when I say that, it's not puppy dogs and rainbows, you guys. It's still the Red Rising universe. But I'm saying there are those moments that I feel like we didn't have any moments of happiness at certain parts of Dark Age. I feel like you do have those here. But there are some stuff in here, guys, that's just going to completely blow you away. And you're not going to see it coming. And that's just what continues to make this series so amazing for me, is that he's able to really surprise me. Here we are, thousands and thousands of words later, in book number 6 of the series. I'm still being surprised, and I'm still worried for these people, you know, that I have grown to absolutely love and feel like they are like personal friends or family members to me. So his character work remains top-notch, guys. He's still using the $25 words. Sometimes I have to stop and, you know, look up because, you know, I got a bachelor's. That's about it. That's about the peak of my education. So I do have to look up some of these words. But he will always be increasing your vocabulary, guys. But I'll just say, worry not, Howlers. Worry not. If you are concerned that he wasn't going to follow up Dark Age or something you want, I don't think there's a chance you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be very happy with this. Now, I do still have half the book to go, and things can change, but as of this point, I am extremely happy, and I'm already like, okay, so when does book 7 come out? Because I know it is not going to have all of these threads tied up by the end of the book. But it's very exciting, guys. It very is just 4 years waiting for a book, and when you get it and you feel like, yes, while you're reading it, you feel like this is meeting and exceeding my expectations for it. That's a great, great thing. And that is what Pierce is doing. I said I was reading other things, guys. I had started to read Savola Burn, but I got that like the day I picked it up. This showed up in the mail, and I said, well, that can wait. But I did finish The Churn. That is the short story about Amos's background. And well, it's a little more than you would think about Amos's background. You actually learn a lot of things about Amos, and that if you haven't watched the series, I think it'll be a real surprise for you, the way that the twists and turns of that short story take. But one of the better short stories, I still like Butcher of Anderson Station or The Drive the best, but this one was pretty good. This was pretty dang good. So I think that the Expanse short stories, I don't say that they're mandatory reading, but I think that you should, because I feel like they do flesh out that universe more, and they give your characters more background and stuff. Sometimes the things that happen before the events of the book, and I think that helps a lot with it. But I actually picked up, instead of going back to Savola Burn, I picked up Red Sister, and that is the Mark Lawrence series, Book of the Ancestor. I have it on digital. And the reason was, guys, is if you don't know, one of my good friends, Madison Goodyear, she's having a real tough time right now. She got some things going on in her personal life, and I don't want to get into that because that's her business. And if she wants to tell you, she will tell you. And she has told you on her channel. So, guys, make sure you subscribe to her channel and things. But that just saying that she was feeling really down, and what she was reading wasn't really working for her. We'd already planned to read Red Sister later together in the month, and we were talking, and I said, you know what? Let's just drop everything we're doing, and you and I, let's just pick up Red Sister and read this together. Because I felt like she was going to go into a reading slump, and sometimes you need a pal to read with when things are kind of down and out. You want that escape, you want to read, but you need to be careful of what you read, because if you're really down and you're trying to read something that's a little too dark or gruesome or reality based for you, that can bring it down a bit. So we started reading Red Sister together. We're pretty much like, just texting back and forth, between chapters, telling what we think about it. It's just, makes the read along a lot more special when it feels like it's something, just you and a friend doing it. So I wanted to make sure that I provide that out to her, because when I've been down before, she's helped pick me up a few times. That's what friends do, right? But with Red Sister, I'll say I'm kind of mixed on it. I would say mixed to positive, but I've got things about it I'm not nuts about. And I said that's why I only commit to doing Red Sister and not the whole Book of the Ancestors, because I am not convinced that Mark Lawrence is an author for me. I wasn't nuts about Broken Empire. I actually DNF'd that series with about 200 pages left in it because I just hated the protagonist so much. And I like the protagonist here. I like Nona. I'm not nuts about any of the other characters, really. Everybody told me this was a character-focused book, and they think that would be a reason I liked it. But I mean, there's stuff happening, and there's high stakes. I'm just finding myself not caring, and I don't know if that's a me thing. I don't know what's going on there. Or just might be I'm just not clicking with his writing style, because I'm not really getting attached to these character relationships. I honestly think my favorite character in the story, I'm about 2/3 through it. I think my favorite character in the series right now might be Abbas Glass, and I don't think it's supposed to be Abbas Glass. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I was told, except by Mark Lawrence superfans, I was told by most people that book 1 is just okay. It's book 2 and 3 when it really hits its stride. So I'm not gonna write it off. And the last third of this book might just hit it out of the park for me. But something that's just driving me crazy is the same thing that bothered me about Liza Nakamura, is just tell your story, man. Quit jumping all over the place in time. He jumps backwards in time. He jumps forwards in time. No context whatsoever. And I know it's one of those things, after a while it'll make sense. I get, if your characters are adults and you want to flash back to things that happened when they were kids or years ago, but he starts the story and he keeps flashing back to something that happened 6 weeks or 2 months ago. And I'm like, why didn't you just start your story there? Because every time you jump back to that, people are like, why is that a problem? When you jump back to that, it keeps taking away, it keeps slowing down the main timeline for me. And that's the stuff I want to know about. So that's what's really bothering me. And then you do several of these time jumps. I assume that they are time jumps forward, and they don't make sense. And I know they will later, but it bothers me. It's like I'm trying to read a Tarantino book or something. It's like few people can pull off that narrative method very, very well. And I guess it sounds really critical, and I'm not trying to be. I'm just saying I feel like there's few authors who can pull that off, and I'm not sure that Mark Lawrence is one that can do that for me yet. So time may come where I feel like that, but as of right now, it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about continuing. I'll see how when me and Madison finish, because she's got a lot of the similar complaints that I do. When she and I finish it, maybe we'll talk about it. I know she's got something else on the horizon after this. I think she's reading some Robin Hobb, and I am gonna read the James S.A. Corey Expanse. So we'll reconvene and talk about if we're going to continue with that series. But as of right now, I don't know. I said mixed to positive. I'm not struggling with it to finish it or anything, but it's nothing that like I'm doing something else and I'm thinking about that book. That's what I kind of usually like to have in a book one, because traditionally I am a fan of beginnings. I do like book ones in series a lot more than other people, and this one, not really sure yet. So let's move along, guys, to what am I going to read. Now, I flipped Lightbringer and Dragon Keeper in my schedule, guys. I know some people were saying I was going to be reading the Rainwild Chronicles this month. Well, when I did get that Lightbringer review copy, I said, okay, something's got to slide down in the schedule. And it wasn't going to be Red Sister until me and Madison made this decision to go ahead and read Red Sister. So I said, okay, I'll just flip Dragon Keeper, and I'll read the first 2 Rainwild books in July. So that's the only thing really that's changing. So if you're looking for an update on that, that is why. With Grey Sister, like I said, we'll see what happens, how I feel at the end of Red Sister. Is there enough hooks that makes me want to keep going? And then I'll see what Madison's schedule is like, and we'll get together on that. But it's going to be going back to Cibola Burn, because I do want to make sure I do stick to, because I got 2 read-alongs I'm a part of. Me and Philip are doing the Realm of the Elderlings, and then I've joined the Expanse one on my Discord. So I make sure that I don't let both of those slide into another month. So I'll be continuing with the Expanse after I finish Red Sister here and Lightbringer, like I said. Trying to go slowly, but it's very, very hard with a Red Rising book. But that's really all that I do have planned for the next week or so. How about this week on the channel, guys? I made the video that I never thought I would make, which was my top 10 books of all time. I've always kind of restrained from making that video, because I know people hate the stipulations I put in. They don't like that I count Lord of the Rings as a trilogy. I don't count Lord of the Rings as one book. And I'm sorry, it was released as one book. I might have known it was supposed to be released as one book. I know the stories, guys. I know all the history of how the Lord of the Rings got made. I got it. But it was released as 3 books. And for that, I'm not going to move the field goal post. I'm not going to say, I can only count the Cosmere as one book. I'm not going to do that for other series and then say, but Lord of the Rings I can count as one. So I wanted to make sure I kept those same rules, and also the no 2 books from one author. And that one I don't think is the biggest deal, guys, because I only would have had 2 Stephen King books in my top 10. The second one would have been The Stand. That's the only thing. The whole thing of that is like encouraging people to check out some of those books if they haven't read them, and to get you to talk about your top 10. That's always what a video like that is like for me. But I got my overall very, very positive. Lots of people excited to check out some of the books they haven't read, or excited they watched the channel long enough they were able to pick like 8 or 9 of the 10 that I did pick out. A couple of surprises on there. The negatives really is just stuff that I had no idea that like Tolkien had this much hate on book 2. Basically, I got so many accusations of old heads like me that we only put Tolkien on lists like that because we feel like we have to, or it's nostalgia based. I mean, first I can think for myself. Second of all, if something is just nostalgia based, I will tell you, hey, that has a lot of nostalgia for me, and I can look at that back now and say, that's why it's on my top 10. That's why when I did my top 10 fantasy series, I moved Narnia off of it. Narnia, always have a special place right here. I admit it's nostalgia. So I didn't have it on my top 10. I'm not that kind of reviewer, guys. I can look at something and be like, I liked it when I was younger. It's not the same now. So I look at those things now based and how I feel about them now. And then a lot of time with that is legacy. Legacy takes time. I love The Lord of the Rings. I reread it all the time. I reread it the last time in 2018. Still love it. So it's not a nostalgia thing for me. And I do think that Fellowship of the Ring is one of the greatest books of all time. Also, I expected the ones about Gone with the Wind and Orson Scott Card because of the content or the author. I expected that. That's fine. With me, it's always about the books. And it's always about being historically accurate. And I understand that's not comfortable for some people to read. I get that. And that's why I bring that up when I review a book. And I talk about, these are some things that you might not work well for you. Gone with the Wind, obviously, was going to be very outdated things. It was dealing with, post-Civil War America. Things weren't really great, especially with race relations. Obviously, those are going to be some things that are very, very tough for people to grasp. And then Orson Scott Card is very outspoken about his personal beliefs. I like these books for this reason and this reason alone, because of the words on the page. And I like the story. But outside of that, guys, I felt like it was very, very well received. And I'm glad that you guys did enjoy the video. It was very, very hard to make. Very hard. Like for me, the hardest thing about making that video was just narrowing it down. I told someone it took me longer to narrow it down to 10 than it did to record and produce and upload that video. And that's not hyperbole. Very, very, very tough video to make. It was also very, very tough to talk about Lonesome Dove and keep it to about an hour. And that wasn't just because I had Brian Lee Durfee on there. But I did have Brian and Madison and AR with them on me, Andy, to talk about some spoilers about Lonesome Dove and what makes it just such an incredible book. It had no real structure. We just talked about big moments of the book that really we loved and what made the book really, really special for us. And Brian talked about so many things that were influential to his own, series, Five Warrior Angels, and we appreciated that a lot. But it's just a really, really special book, and it just feels good to talk about it and those characters that you really just grow to love over the course of that series. So thank you to my crew there. You guys are awesome. We could have talked all night about Lonesome Dove and beyond. And if you guys don't know, Cormac McCarthy did pass away last week, so it wasn't planned, but I went ahead and moved my Dark Age review back a week to talk about The Road by Cormac McCarthy, a book that I read about, I guess, maybe a year or two after it was released. It was before the movie came out, and I was very, very excited to talk about it because it's a book that I do love, and I wanted to talk about why. I just thought it was something I'd always planned to talk about down the road, because when I talked about Blood Meridian, I think I upset so many Cormac McCarthy fans because I didn't like it that I was like, maybe I'll wait and talk about The Road later. So it wasn't one of those, hey, let me be an opportunist and talk about because the author died. No, let me pay tribute to the old man about, hey, I might not have liked Blood Meridian that much, but The Road, one of the greatest books ever written. Easily one of the best post-apocalyptic dystopian books ever written. It's so good. And I don't think that I could read that book now because I have a kid about the age of the boy in that book. And it's pretty rough. It's pretty tough. I'd probably just be a big old sack of tears reading the whole thing. But an amazing book, guys. I think that you should check it out. My only recommendation, and I've had other people that are audio only and sometimes eyes readers tell me this, is that it's not the kind of book that you can just put on 2.5 speed on audio and blare through and have the same opinions of it. Big thing about Cormac's writing style is it is about the atmosphere, the tone, the aesthetic that he is drawing in your mind, and you kind of need to take some time to soak it all in. So I might not be the person to ask, but like I said, I have had other people who do both tell me they agree that that is a book you kind of need to take in with your eyes to get the full effect and the weight and the emotional resonance of it. So I would recommend that you guys do that. It's not a very long book. I hope you will check it out. It is actually great, and I will be continuing with Cormac McCarthy, probably some more next year. I think All the Pretty Horses is the one that I have decided to do. I did have a guest spot on someone else's channel, MJ, over on This Reading Life. And it was really just about how to start a YouTube channel. What was my path doing that? What would I recommend? What do I look to avoid? Things like that. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time talking with her. We're similar ages, so I feel like, hey, we can talk about them old grumpy, shake-fisted cloud Gen X things without getting too much criticism. But it was a lot of fun. She has a really, really charming channel. I think you guys like it. She loves to spotlight other booktubers, and it's something that I always appreciate because I love to do that. Like my Talk About Nothings really are to put a spotlight on booktubers I think are very good and they are on their way, and I kind of just want to help maybe get more eyes on their channel kind of things. So it's something I do appreciate that other content creators will do for each other. Not really book related, guys, but I did join Storygraph. If you don't know what that is, it is an alternative to Goodreads. A lot of people complain about Goodreads, and I get it. One of the biggest things about Goodreads, besides the fact that it's broken sometimes and it's just so slow, is that their star ratings are much more probably what you're looking for. You can do quarter and half star ratings there, so there's that. I just don't feel like it has as big of a user base yet. Still a lot of people are still on Goodreads. Goodreads has a way bigger database for reviews, obviously, but Storygraph, if you're like me and you're a big data nerd, all that channel growth stuff I do on my monthly wrap-ups, they really dive into it. You can go to page count, word count. You can go into like what mood you've been reading in. If you're doing digital, if you're doing audio, if you're doing physical, all that stuff. It breaks it down for you to the word. It's really, really cool. So if you're into all that stuff, I would say, hey, check out Storygraph and friend me on there. Zep1978, guys, find me on there. I would love to connect with you there. How about some next week plans, guys? It really is just going to kind of be a makeup week for Dark Age. Me and HowlerPod had to keep delaying some things, but we are going to be doing our spoiler talk for Dark Age, and I will also be doing my just standard non-spoiler review for Dark Age, probably the day before, do that kind of back-to-back. Kind of think that's the best way to kind of work it out, maybe. So if you guys haven't read Dark Age, I'm sorry, it might be the week for you. That's really kind of what we're focused on here as we end the Red Rising reread and start waiting for the new book. But I do have a short one I'm probably going to put out tomorrow. I mean, I want to put it out tomorrow. It's probably going to be a short one, rather. Is I just want to do something for Father's Day. Last year I did, my favorite dads in sci-fi and fantasy. I thought that was a fun video to make. But something that's kind of near and dear to me is reading to my kids. And I kind of want to put a spotlight on why I think it's important that dads should read to their kids. And it's not to exclude mothers or anything like that. I want to make sure that people understand that. For me, it's just, I like to give the opportunity as a dad to encourage other dads to be a bigger part of their lives. Because there are a lot of things that dads will get comfortable with moms doing. And I think that there are some things that dads can do to really build some core memories. So if you're one of those people who's maybe having a tough time connecting with your kids, I think the power of reading is one of those things that can help. And I kind of want to talk about that. So maybe a little bit more of a heavy or a serious kind of conversation, but also make some recommendations and things that I think that you guys can read to them based off of their age. And I'll just kind of tell you my experience. It's just something, because it's something that I do encourage all dads to do for their kids, because I think it's really, really great for them. So guys, how about some TV and movie talk before I go? Silo was renewed for season 2. Very excited about that. I still don't know if they're going to be able to get all of book 1 in season 1. But I'm liking what they're doing. They made some changes, but for the most part, it's still pretty damn faithful to Hugh Howey's book, and I'm pretty impressed with that. So before season 2 starts, I think I might go ahead and pick up book number 2 in that, because I never continued after the first book. We watched Extraction 2 yesterday. It was very cool. Now, look, guys, I've heard a lot of people being like, oh, I got the plot. I don't watch movies like that for the plot. I watch movies like Extraction to watch the God of Thunder Thor beat the shit out of people. It's the same thing with like John Wick. I'm not there for the storyline. It's cool if you have one. I'm there to see the action. And Extraction 2 lived up to the hype of the first movie, which had one of the coolest action scenes I'd ever seen. This meets it or maybe tops it. You go from this prison scene in one long take all the way through this long take of a train chase. It's so good, guys. I had a blast with it. I thought the story was fine. I've watched movies in the 80s. I've watched Arnold movies in the 80s that had thinner plots than this. It's at least as good as Commandos. So I say check it out, guys. If you just want a adrenaline rush thrill ride, you love the John Wick movies, guys. I don't see any way you won't like Extraction and Extraction 2. So check it out. Again, I don't go into it expecting some thought-provoking thing. It's really about the action, guys. He is someone who gets paid to go in and get people out of bad situations, and it's really good. It's really good. Do got a gaming talk thing before I go. I know I'm running a little long here. This tends to happen on these weekly updates, especially when I wait until later in the weekend to do them. But I got to talk about the Xbox Showcase. I got to say this up front. I hate that I have to say this every single time. In case you guys are new to the channel, I am not a brand loyalist. We are gamers in this house. We own Xboxes. We own Nintendos. We own PlayStations. Just bought a PS5. We've been playing Switch all week. We are subscribers to Game Pass, so you will see no favoritism here. I just talk about these things as a gamer because I do love them. Yeah, I've been upset with some things that Xbox has done. I've been upset with some things Nintendo's done for years. I wasn't wild about the PlayStation Showcase. It just happened a month ago. But I gotta say, the Xbox Showcase was pretty great, and it felt like they needed to. They've been really on the ropes. They got a lot of bad press for Redfall when it came out, which I think is kind of bullshit, by the way, because it's like Forspoken came out, it was just as bad. No one ever talks about it, but they just jumped all over Redfall because they are behind. I do admit that, but I'll say that, guys, we love Game Pass. Game Pass is incredible. I mean, it's $10 a month. They have deals all the time where you can get a month for $1. So we're paying less than $100 a year for access to all these games. And that's what was impressive about the showcase, is they had a lot of great looking games, and they showed 27 of them, and 21 of them after the end it said day one on Game Pass. So again, to me, that is the best deal in gaming. So you might not be crazy about their lineup, but you know what? You've got all those options. My kids will play a ton of those games that my wife and I won't, so it's a great value. So for us, we're fine keeping the Xbox just as like the Game Pass machine, because there is going to be a ton of great stuff on here. But I got to talk about some of these games, guys. Starfield looks amazing. That looks like it is the only game that has a shot of beating Tears of the Kingdom for my game of the year. It looks incredible. I was a big Bethesda fan for a long time. They sort of let me down a little bit in the post-Skyrim era. First, they kept re-releasing Skyrim over and over and over and over again, which I didn't mind because I had the Legendary Edition. I played it all over again. I loved it. But, you know, the Fallout 4 was mediocre, and then Fallout 76 was a disaster. So I felt like their star was starting to fall a little bit, especially when they just kept delaying pre-production on Elder Scrolls 6, which I wanted so much. But Starfield looks like it's going to make the wait worth it. Their first new IP in like 25 years. So this is very exciting. People have hot takes about Todd Howard, but I think the guy, he works his ass off, and I want to trust him. And I feel like they know about some of the things that have went wrong recently, and they know that Starfield's got to be great, and it looks like it's going to be, guys. It's like, I think back to No Man's Sky. This is everything and more that I wanted No Man's Sky to be. And at first I saw the trailer, I was like, looks great, but anybody can make a trailer great. I want to see some gameplay. And then they did that Starfield Direct afterwards, and they basically showed you 45 minutes of everything that makes that game go, and it looks so deep and so incredible. Guys, I cannot wait to play it. Cannot wait. It looks absolutely amazing, and I'm just glad I got a vacation planned right around that time, because that's what I will be doing. There's some other good-looking games in that lineup too. Avowed, which looks like a Skyrim holdover or Elder Scrolls 6 holdover. That's fine. That's all it is. Hellblade 2 looks awesome. I'm not crazy about Forza, but I know a lot of people like those games. I haven't played any game like that since Gran Turismo, way back on like the PlayStation 2. I'm not a real big racer guy, but it looks stunning. Like I said, Hellblade 2 is all. The first Hellblade, guys, Senua's Sacrifice, so good. I can't wait to play part 2. South of Midnight looks good. Fable, I'm not really sure. I think that the character designs are questionable, and I played Fable games before, and watching that trailer, I was like, this doesn't seem like anything I ever played in Fable, but I think they might have just been going for comedy. I don't know. We'll see. Again, the character designs, I'm like, why are you making them look like they're hideous? I don't know. They look scary almost. Looks like something that Fable, it real big about making your own story. So I think that's what they were trying to show in that trailer. So I'll wait and see. I'll see like more a gameplay video or something, or a demo of that before I really pass judgment on it. But again, I feel like there's lots of things to be excited about if you are an Xbox fan for the first time. And that's why I wait, guys, with these consoles. That's why I bought a PlayStation 5 like a month ago. I'm eyeballing the idea of getting a Series X before the Starfield comes out. So it's like I always wait 2 or 3 years, or into year 2 or 3 of these new console generations before I get them, because that's when the actual games start showing up. They start saying, okay, we're phasing out the last gen, which Xbox just finally did. They're done with Xbox One officially. They're just on Series S and X now. That's cool. So for me, this is the best way to wait, is the best reason to wait. You get all the bugs worked out, you finally start getting a good games lineup. A lot of those games that you would not have been happy with paying $75 for are now, $40 or less. It works out great. And again, Game Pass is a can't lose for me. So guys, that was my week. A little long in the tooth here, but that does tend to happen from time to time. But I could ramble and talk to you guys forever. So guys, let me know what your week was like. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing. And I'll talk to you there. Have a great Father's Day.